Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Paige, this is Seeking Alexandria, and I couldn't find my, you guys know I always wear like a headband. I couldn't find my headband, and so I have this giant 80 scrunchie. I know, looking so good. And today, this just matches the overall feel of my existence right now. All morning long, I've been just like, whoa, and I'm so excited to like sit down and film this and go through it with you guys and talk about so many different things. So the first thing I want to get out of the way is that we are looking at the Smoke Sessions collection from Melt Cosmetics. And for those of you that are not familiar with Melt Cosmetics or this collection, it is all about weed, basically. It's all about marijuana. And all of the packaging does have little marijuana leaves on it. The collection itself also released with a glass pipe, which is something you can use to smoke marijuana. And I just wanted to kind of get this part out into the video first because a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. A lot of people feel it promotes drug use. A lot of people feel, you know, a lot of different things about this topic in general. And I wanted to get out of the way that this is not a video about weed or about how to do it, about how to smoke it, about promoting it or not promoting it. It has nothing to do with that. This is all about the makeup. This is about looking at this absolutely stunning palette and just looking at it to see what we can create, what we think about the formula. There's also 4 liquid lipsticks that we're going to be looking at as well. And I just wanted to put this entire portion in here right now so that way if you are uncomfortable with weed, you don't like it, you don't like the idea of talking about it, whatever the case is, that way you can exit out and there's no issue for you going later on. I would just hate to get through a video and then find out, you know, these little things going forward. I would rather them just be right up front and honest. So if you are cool with that, let's go ahead and jump into the next part of this video where we are going to basically be using this palette. This is their Smoke Sessions palette. And you guys, the colors in here, obviously I have swatches for you, but this palette spoke to me on a spiritual level. Like, I love the packaging, I love the unicarton, I love all of that, but these colors are so good. And when I actually swatched this for you, which I'll go ahead and throw up here, I went ahead and I swatched these very similarly to how they are in the pan. This pan is arranged with 2 matte shades that are very deep dark. One's like a deep matte blue turquoisey kind of color, and the other is a deep matte army green. Those are the only 2 mattes in the palette, and then we have golds over here and these beautiful kind of greeny blue type shades over here. And at first when I saw this, I was very like, huh, what? Because, you know, if you're going for that like marijuana feel, that weed feel, which is typically like greens and golds, if you're going for that theme, I was like, this is kind of an interesting setup. And the more that I looked at it, the more I thought, actually, for being this big of a setup, they actually did a beautiful job. I mean, for 8 pans, I really love the setup and the colors, but I am, you know, I'm a little apprehensive about certain things, the tones of certain colors, the fact that there is only 2 matte shades. You know, there's a couple things there that I'm like, about, but as we go through it and we dive in and as I swatched it, oh my god, these shades are so beautiful. Like, okay, we've all seen golds. We love golds. I love golds. I love those tones. These are very unique. Like, a couple of these are much more old gold, old soul kind of gold. And then these shades over here, these blue-green turquoisey type colors, are so beautiful. I was swatching them, I was playing with them, and I felt like the well-roundedness for only being 8 shades actually was very, very beautiful, and something that I think you could do a lot more looks than what you would think you could do. You might need to incorporate like a lighter crease color or something like that. We're going to find out here in a second. But I do think that there's so much beauty in this palette that I had to pick it up. Now, when I purchased this, it was actually a set. The 4 liquid lipsticks and the palette all came in this Melt Cosmetics bag. And as I mentioned earlier, there was also, I think I mentioned earlier, there was also a glass pipe that came in here, which is something that you use to, you can actually smoke marijuana in. And it's something that obviously I'm not showing because I don't think you can show like weed paraphernalia. I don't think you're allowed to show that on YouTube. But also I took it out just out of respect for those of you that maybe wouldn't watch it or wouldn't want your children to see that kind of stuff. I took it out. Now, for those of you that are curious, because the pipe is sold out on their website, but it was for sale or will be, I would assume, back in stock, it was $15. And if you're wondering about the quality, I actually gave that pipe to a friend. I myself do not smoke marijuana, but I have a friend that does, and they said that it was a really nice pipe. It's very standard as a glass pipe, but it's a nicer, a little bit thicker glass, which is good. And they said overall, like, a really nice pipe for 15 bucks. So if you're curious about that, or you were wondering, that's all I can really say about it, because I don't know much else, and I took it out, so it was not in here, just out of respect for those of you that don't care for that kind of stuff. So you do get this cute little bag. I actually thought the presentation in here was really, really cute, and we will get into the liquid lipsticks here a little bit later. Now, circling back to the Smoke Sessions palette on their website, which, like I said, this is out of stock, but I'm assuming maybe, I don't know. I know their Gemini palette sold out really quickly, huge demand. They brought it back, so I don't know if this is something they will be bringing back or not. I actually was, and I didn't pick up the Gemini palette, but when I saw this, I was like, does that kind of give anybody else like slightly similar vibes? But then I looked up swatches and everyone was like, no, they're not even close to the same. So I don't know. You guys tell me down in the comments. I did not pick up the Gemini palette. But anyways, let's dive into this one. It is $48 and it says in the description that you get 8 individually cultivated dank shades in matte and metallic textures inspired by our love for cannabis and the anatomy of the plant, from the lush stems and leaves to the dimensional buds and trichomes. So other than that, down in the description, there really isn't too much else we need to know. It goes through the names of the palette, or the name of the shades in the palette, what they were inspired by, and I really wanted to kind of touch on this real quick because cannabis is something that means a lot to a lot of people, and whether you're for it or against it, just for clarification, as like how could they make a palette like this, or if you're really wondering like how could you be inspired by cannabis, marijuana, weed, whatever you call it, I think it's something that I myself, like I've been kind of taught about it a lot in my life, and not just that it was bad, not that it was good, but I've been taught like all sides and facets and, you know, what it's good for, what it's not good for, what to believe, what not to believe. And I think it's interesting to note that this palette is actually derived from not like loving cannabis, like, oh, we love to get stoned, so we created a palette to talk about how much we love to get stoned. This palette was created out of what cannabis looks like. And when you ever, and I know a lot of you probably haven't, and if you're, especially if you're not into weed, if you ever look at a bud of marijuana under a microscope, it's actually beautiful. There's these things like called trichomes, which is what they said in the description, and they're beautiful, they're reflective, they look like little drops of kind of like really beautiful like sugar like all over the leaves, and it's just marijuana under a microscope is absolutely beautiful. And so when I look at this and the way that it shimmers and sparkles and the way that this palette moves, especially this shade, Blue Dream right here, such a beautiful shade, and it almost looks kind of like a topper effect. It's just beautiful, and I can see the inspiration for this palette, and I can see where they would come from, and the darkness of the leaves and the sultry and the way that things blend out, and I can see their vision for this. And so I just really wanted to mention that if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, someone created a palette because they like to smoke weed, for people that love and are invested in cannabis as a plant, as a way of healing themselves, it goes so much deeper than smoking weed and for getting high. And a lot of people actually extract the THC, which is the part that gets you high, and they're left with just the cannabinoids. And when you're left with that part, it's actually like healing properties, and it's good for you, and it helps people with everything from arthritis to depression and anxiety. So it can have so many great effects. I've had friends that actually went through cancer, and it helped them go through that and deal with that process and eat food when they weren't hungry. And there is a lot of beauty in the world of cannabis. And so I know at the beginning of this video, I told you this isn't about marijuana, this has nothing to do with it. And this to me doesn't speak anything about the actual act of smoking weed. This has everything to do with what so many people see when they look at weed and the beauty that they see in it. So again, I just wanted to clarify that in case you're on the fence or you're not, like it's hard for some people who didn't grow up around it or who are not for it. It's hard to kind of grasp that concept because I have my own friends that are very much so like that, and I wanted to clarify that just so there is no misunderstanding or there's no like ill will put out there about this, because it's just not always all about getting high. So anyways, let's go ahead and zoom you guys in and let's start talking about this palette and putting it on our eyes because I'm so excited. Look at these freaking colors. Oh my stink. Like, look at these. These are so beautiful. Oh my God. Like, look, it's like wearable and then like, hello, let's have fun. Like, this is just so beautiful. By the way, there's also tiny little leaves imprinted into every single pan, and I just thought that was like a cute little touch. This palette really is full of like tiny little nuances. Even the texture of like the palette itself, like the color, this green, they almost did like what looks like a metal finish, and it just, I don't know, I think it looks really fun and unique. I love this. I like the arrangement, and I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of unique uniqueness to this palette. Anyways, okay, let's go ahead and we're going to dive into this. Now, like I said before, there are only 2 matte shadows, which are these guys right here. And I'm a little bit apprehensive about this. I'm not going to lie, because for obvious reasons, there's not really much of a blend out that's going to be happening with just these colors, but we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to start by going in with my JH33 brush, which is clean. It's kind of stained because the very first color I ever dipped into was a color that was about this dark, so whoops. But we're going to start by going in here, and we're just going to dive into the shade Sour Diesel, which is the matte green shade. Now, before I get going in with this, look at that. Look at all that pigment. Oh my dear God. I did already go ahead, and obviously my brows are done with the Colourpop Bangin' Brunette brow pencil, and my lids are primed and set down with the Eden Urban Decay Primer Potion, and then set down with my Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder in 05 Fair. So now we're going to go in, and we're just going to start by taking this super duper deep brown shade, or I'm sorry, green shade, not brown shade. And we're gonna start by just kind of placing that on this outer area. And oh my God, that's a lot of color. So we're gonna be extra, extra careful with this. Oh my stink, that's a lot of color. Okay, okay, wow. Dang. Well, I guess this is gonna be a dark eye look, okay. And I'm just kind of pressing and packing for right now because I'm trying to more or less create the shape that I want. And then I figured I could kind of go from there. Oh my goodness, that's so dark. Yes. And then as there's something a little bit left over, I'm just kind of taking and running that, or fluffing that little bit of color left on my brush, going in the upward direction. I want to see if I can blend this out by itself, or if I'm going to need like some kind of a, I don't know, like a matte brown or something. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping I can just use what this palette has and go from there, but we shall see. And again, just continuing to fluff that nice lighter green shade, whatever is left on my brush. Just pulling it up into this little fat pooch right here, and just doing that so I can still have a nice green blended look. So now that we are here, and it's crazy for me to think that that's only one color and it's like all blended, oh my God. Now that's not necessarily all I'm going to put in the crease, but I really want to decide this cut crease portion, and then I'm gonna go from there. So I'm gonna start by grabbing my Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Sculpting Concealer. This is in the shade Swan, and my Sigma F70 brush. This is what I use a lot. It's nice, and I have it good and packed down and like really caked up full of product, so it works really good for cutting stuff out on my lid. So I'm going to take a little bit of this concealer here. I just like to work with it off of my hand, and I'm going to get to cutting this La Crease. Dang, that is a nice like open cut crease. Anytime I work with super dark colors in a cut crease, I like to go through, and instead of bringing it straight from the corner up, I like to draw it in more toward the nose, because not only does it open up my eye, it also makes it so my nose, like with the rest of my makeup on, of course, it actually makes it so my nose looks much more streamlined, and it creates a really nice look down the bridge of my nose. So if you have also like small and squatty eyes, kind of like I do, you just don't have a ton of lid space, this is something I do to make it a lot more easy to work with, and overall just kind of helps counter the darkness that I'm gonna have on the outer portion of my eye. But anyways, now I'm just gonna take and I'm going to pat out this eye completely, and I'm gonna blend it just with my finger, this concealer, over into the outer portion of my lid, and then we're gonna get to throwing on some shimmer, because girl, I'm so excited. I think I'm gonna start off by taking Mean Green, which is this shade right here, and I wanna focus that on like this area between the dark and the super light area. And then I think I'm gonna take Blue Dream, which of this guy right here, and I wanna put that maybe toward the inner portion of the eye. I think, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, I love these tones, they're super beautiful, but I'm also like, how can I play with every tone in here? So I'm just applying this Mean Green shade with my finger right here. You can also use the silicone paddles that I mentioned in the Huda Beauty, the new Nude palette review, which if you didn't see that, I will link it right up here. But there are these little flat paddle, like spatula type brushes. In that video, I talk about them. They're from BH Cosmetics, so they're super affordable. And if you don't like using your finger, those are also a really good option. Or of course, you can just use like the standard flat brush. But for me, I love using my fingers because then I can really feel it. I feel like I can get in here and I know exactly how much color I'm laying down. I can feel exactly how blended things are, and I just prefer it. So also on my finger now, I'm going to grab the shade Blue Dream, which is so beautiful. And I'm going to use that and the inner portion of the eye just to open up this whole look. Oh my stink. This shade is like kind of stunning. It's not kind of stunning, it's just stunning. Like, look at that. And then just lightly kind of tapping it onto this other green just to help blend the two worlds. Oh my sweet baby Jesus, deliver me, you are so pretty. And I'm just going in with that same Sigma F70 brush right here, and I am using that to get good and close to those edges, because, you know, you gotta have a good clean cut, girl. Now, just to deepen up that line up there, that cut crease, I'm gonna grab the Morphe Y20 brush, which is kind of a pudgy little pencil brush, and I'm gonna go back into that Sour Diesel shade, which is the matte green we worked out here, and I'm just gonna deepen it up right along that cut crease on the matte side, just because the more you deepen it up, the more you get a little bit of an extra little pop up against that metallic shadow, and it looks extra pretty. So we're just gonna go ahead, deepen that up just a little bit. I am using the tiniest amount of product just to run it nice and close to that line, and then blending out with whatever is left. Now with the same JH33 brush, I'm gonna grab a little bit more of that Sour Diesel shade, and I'm going to pack it on just to this outer area to blend in the matte green with the shimmer green that we laid down. But I don't wanna go in with too much because I actually really love the way that mean green, that shimmery green shade we tucked back here, I love the way that that looks. So I don't wanna totally cover it up, but I just wanna meld the matte with the shimmer. So I just did a little swatching, and I think I want to take Gravity OG, which is this beautiful gold shade at the front of the palette. It's so bright and bold. I want to take it on this BH number 10. It is a tiny little like hair brush. Okay, there's like 7 little hairs that make a brush, and I want to take this. I'm going to spray it, make it kind of wet so it grabs product, and I want to use it to, I think, trace that cut crease. I think that that's going to look really beautiful. And then I think partway through the crease, like somewhere up through here, I want to grab Granddaddy, which is the next darkest shade, which is this guy. So do the majority of it with this, and then just use the middle one to go in and kind of trail it out into the darker area. That way we even kind of fan that gold color from a brighter to a deeper color, just like the eye. I think it'll kind of match and look really pretty. So now I need something to wet this brush. Just a little bit of my Urban Eden Decay, and I'm really just going to like create a little pool of this on my fingers, like a tiny little spurts, because I don't want to waste it. I hate it when people, okay, am I the only one? When you watch somebody that wants to like wet their brush and they just go shh, and they just, you see all the products go to waste, and I'm just like, oh, don't do it. Like, it kind of kills me. I just spray a little bit onto my hand, and then I kind of run my brush into it. I don't know if that's weird or not, but like, I hate the idea of wasting an entire spritz of anything just to wet my brush. Like, it kind of makes me sad. So anyways, got my brush good and wet, and now we're gonna go in with Gravity OG, and we are going to attempt to use it to trace the cut crease. And I'm not sure how this is gonna go. So let's just say a little prayer, and let's do it. That is such a beautiful, like, subtle little moment. And here's the thing that I wanted to mention, and it's something that you guys are probably like screaming through your computers. I know that you can also go in, which we're gonna be actually, I think, doing here in a second. You can take your concealer and do a line, and then use your concealer to go over that line, and that's the way that a lot of people choose to do this. And I don't want it to be super harsh or like a really stark big line. And anytime I do that with concealer in this area, it ends up being a little thicker and just a little bit more than I want. And for this look, I more or less just wanted you to be able to see like that subtle moment. I didn't want it to be something that was like very aggressive and like a big thick line, if that makes sense. So for me, it was easier to do this, but you can, if it's easier for you to get it to stick or just to work with the concealer, you can go in same exact way, just do a line of concealer first and then use this over top of it. And some people find that that's easier for them. I like this method because I don't know, this is how I've always done it. I don't know, it's just how I like to do it. And you guys, this is also something I wanted to mention. This This is also a really cool way that you can use, like if you don't have the Urban Decay and like all of those glitter heavy metal liners, or you know, you don't want to buy a palette and those and just all of these different things. This is a fun way to use what you already have to get to use the same type of effect as those glitter liners and all of that, because those are $20 a piece, and if you've already bought a palette, in this case it's $48, you don't necessarily have the money to, you know, keep throwing at this kind of stuff. So it's just a fun way that you can use what you have and still get a similar or the same effect in some cases. So I just wanted to throw that out there, like, hello, talk about doing a good thing and having a blast on a budget over here. You guys, look what I just did, like a little idiot. Oh my god. What the hell? I just like jammed my brush in there. Like I didn't even mean to. I was being an idiot and talking with my hands and jammed the shadow. Okay, Paige, that was rude. Let's pack it down. Let's say a prayer to the god of the shadows. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. Okay, well, now that my heart has sank a little bit, I want to explain to you guys real quick. So if you were wondering, why would she do this and want it to be slightly less intense, a little bit less of a pop? That is because for the wing portion of this, I'm actually going to do what I was just talking about, and I'm going to take my Born This Way Multi-Sculpting Concealer, and I'm going to create kind of a wing that has a little bit of girth to it, a little fat, if you will, and I'm going to fill that in using these 3 gold shades right here, and I'm actually going to do it in a gradient. So it's going to go light to dark in the wing. That way we can get that effect. It's going to be a little bit more intense, but it'll have a light kind of contrast to the cut we just did right there. So I'm going to see if I can make this all pull together and like do it the way that I'm envisioning it, but we shall see. So let's grab this concealer and get our get our ass a moving. Ooh, wait a second. Ooh, idea, pause. Okay, so I'm gonna use it just like that. You see how the color is actually in there kind of to a point? And then I'm going to trace the outer V, or the outer portion of this wing, with the bright gold again, so it looks kind of like an arrow. Ooh, I just had that idea and it looked real pretty, so we gonna try it. So I just realized that now that it's here and looking beautiful and snatched and gorgeous, I have to run off. I have to do this other eye complete, and that's going to take like another 40 minutes or something. This didn't take 40 minutes, but it did take a minute. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to obviously complete this whole look and do my face. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about liquid lipsticks. So hang tight and I will be right back. But oh my god, look how pretty. You guys, I've never done one like this before. Go Paige, like I'm so impressed with myself. Oh my god, it looks so pretty. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, so I am back. I have my hair done, the rest of my face on, and before I dive into all the products on my face, I do want to kind of go into the liquid lipsticks of this collection real quick. They released 4 colors. They are $19 a piece, and I'm not wearing one right now. So the thing is, the 4 colors they released, they're beautiful. Like I said, we'll get into those in a second, but none of them so much like spoke to the eye look that I created. I think a lot of these would match like the goldy, the old gold, even the matte brown, or the matte brown. Okay, I keep wanting to call it a matte brown. The matte green, the matte blue. Like I could see a lot of the colors working with that side, but very few of them, or if none, in my opinion, would really work with this look. There is a deep matte green that I probably could have wore, but like I'm not the deep matte green kind of girl. That's not my style. So let's go ahead though real quick, and I do want to show you the swatches because I think they are beautiful. So we have Bellastona, which is like a bright pink kind of color. We have Taupe, which is that deep matte green I was just talking about. Velvet Room, which is a deep matte purple burgundy type color. And then Breathless, which is a very hot flaming like red, but almost a red that's more on the pinky tone type red. And I think in swatch, the 2 pinky / red ones kind of look very similar. And my biggest issue with these, like I said, is just that none of them worked with this eye look. That doesn't make them bad. The formula seemed very nice and smooth. As I wear those, I'm going to be honest, I probably would never wear the deep matte green one. That's really not my vibe. But the other 3 I could see myself wearing, especially like in this season we're in. I love wearing a bright red lip. So I will kind of play around with those, and I'll let you guys know at a later time what I think. Did I like the formula? That kind of thing. I was just a little bummed that out of those 4 colors, not one of them was something I could have used with this bold of an eye. And I thought that was kind of weird. Like the whole collection for me was a really big win. I loved everything about it. I thought it was cool. They had like bright colors, and they had this super crazy awesome palette with these beautiful shimmers. And for me, like the artistic side of it was there. You could really see what they drew inspiration from, and you could see so many things that I was just like, for there to not be one nude lipstick, I was kind of like, okay? But Melt Cosmetics is also known for doing things that are so different and so out of the box that I could also see them being like, nude lipstick, hell no, watch what we do. So, you know, like I can see both sides of it from like an artistic versus like a practical standpoint. So I guess that's all a matter of personal preference. Now, as far as what's on my lips, I actually went in with the Kim K number 6 in Nude, and I put down the color, but then I kind of blotted off most of it. Over top of that, I layered 2 glosses because I'm extra. The first one is Dose of Colors, Barely There. I really like this gloss. It adds a really nice color, but not a super bright gloss, and I really wanted a nice glossy kind of sheen because it was a really demure lip color. So over top of that, I put a little bit, just guess, the JLo and Inglot collab in Peach Pearl. I put just a tiny bit of this on there because this really does have a beautiful like shine reflectivity moment to it, but it pairs so nicely with nude lips that I don't know, I've really been liking this a lot. So what else is on the rest of my face? Because that probably matters at some point. I did go in, what did I prime today with? Oh, the Tatcha Silk Canvas. I primed with that. I primed with one like of the, such a scientific measurement, of the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist, just a little bit. I find that putting that on as a primer almost helps everything like melt better into the skin, which has been an interesting feel. For foundations, I mixed 3 because I'm a little extra. I went in with the Catrice HD Liquid Full Coverage, a tiny shot of the Clarins Skin Illusion, and then a little bit of the Nars Natural Radiant Longwear. The 3 of these together, I was trying to create like a nice balanced look, a nice like sheen, but really good coverage. I was trying to go for something a little different. I've been wearing these 2 together and they look really beautiful, so I thought I would just add a hit of this, and it actually looks kind of gorgeous. So after that, I went ahead and what did I use to set my face? Oh, I set my face using the Maybelline 05 Fair, like the loose powder, and I actually used a powder puff today and kind of scooched it in there and like patted it all over my face, and it worked really well, so that was a big plus. After that, what did I use? Oh, for bronzer, I used the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzer. This is in the shade 01 Natural. I've talked about this a ton. It's a little bit warm for me, but I thought the color paired really nicely with the eye. So I used that. I also used my Toasted Cinnamon Blush from Burt's Bees. I used the Ofra Highlight in Star Island as my highlight. That is in my inner corner, my brow bone, my poppin' cheek right there. I love this. I can't stop using it. It's a beautiful highlight. Now, all of that leads me to the finishing touches on the eye, and I only went in with mascara and a pair of Ardell Demi Whispies. And I did that because, like I told you guys in, I believe it was the Violet Voss video, I went through and I reviewed all 4 of the mini palettes, which I can link right up here. But I went through in that video and I didn't wear any fake lashes. And I told you guys that I wanted to start playing around with bolder eye looks with less lash or no lash, or, you know, just doing things a little differently, because I think that it can be beautiful and it can really showcase an eye look. And I wanted to have some lash, but I didn't want to have too much. So I felt like today this was a really nice balance of a little bit more lash, but nothing too crazy. For me, the Ardell Demi Whispies are a beautiful, like, everyday lash if you're looking for that. They're super nice, very affordable, drugstore. Like, they're just a beautiful, everyday, not over-the-top lash. It's, to me, the Ardell Demi Wispy is like your lash, but better. Like, it's just a little hit, which is beautiful. But right before I put those on, I was looking at the wing, which when you guys left, we were looking at this gold wing situation, and I really loved what I had created and all that, like, faded and the structure and all of it, but I really wanted something that was just a little bit more poppy off my eye. So I went in with the NYX glitter glue and that same little pencil brush actually, and I redefined the wing using glitter glue, and then I put just the bright gold shade all over the wing, and it actually came out super beautiful, and it was a lot more punchy and poppy for what I was looking for. So that was a really big hit for me. I don't know. I really love it. I love the way the whole look came together. Now, all of that aside, I think at the end of the day, we have to talk about this palette. What do I think? Is it quality? You know, yada, yada. But these shadows did blend out, and there was like no issue. Nothing, again, was patchy. Nothing was grabby. There wasn't any issue with like when you lay the pigment down or the shadow down and you try to blend that line and it wouldn't blend. I didn't have that happen at all. Everything just kind of like went together. Now, as far as practicality of this palette, that for me is where this falls really, really short, because you only get 8 pans in here and only 2 of them are matte, which means you're only really going to have the option with this palette for a very deep, bold, intense look. Now, for some people, that's fine. They don't mind, whatever. For me, it makes it a little bit more of a specialty palette, something that's a little bit less wearable, a little bit less usable on the day-to-day. but I cannot speak highly enough for how beautiful and unique I think these 3 shades are. I think these 3 are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but for me, these 3 shades, they just shine. They brighten up your eye. They can brighten up a world, on anything. They could brighten up the entire US at this moment. Like, I find these shades to be so breathtakingly unique, and what I love, and I was thinking about this too, because I'm like, have I seen shades like that? Like, oh, not really, not that look like this, and I haven't seen a shade even close to this that translated as beautifully to the eye at the same tone and pigment and undertone as these did, and that is what I loved about this palette. Now, as far as what you get in here for like texture and the wearability of it, I actually love because you get 3 different textures. You have the matte shade, which is beautiful. We know that. I've talked about it a ton. This mean green shade right here is much more of like a standard shimmer glimmer kind of moment, the normal shimmer you would get in any other palette. But then shades like Gravity OG and Blue Dream, those are almost more of like a chunky glitter type metallic. They're not glittery, but they have that glitter like chunk to them. But they also, like, when you swatch them, you can feel the little like bubbly bumps kind of when you go to swatch. If you've ever swatched a shadow, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Regular shimmers, they're much more smooth. They're much more like whoop whoop, and you can feel that like creamy butter feeling under your finger. And it's not that these are like chalky or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but they're much more like when you swipe through them, they're looser. You can feel a little bit more chunk come up on your finger. When you swatch them out, they have that chunk to them. They're beautiful. That makes them a little bit more reflective, a little bit more bam on the eye, which is why that gold looks so beautiful on the wing, because it's just so much more vampy and poppy and awake than a regular shimmer. So I think you do get a lot of like interesting finishes and beautiful colors, and the way that this palette has been manipulated, if it wasn't complete with all the different little facets, I wouldn't think it was worth it. But for $48 or $49, we might as well say 50 bucks, what you're getting here, 8 shades, 0.0725 a piece. So they do work out to be almost 1.5 of a standard shadow. I usually say a standard Urban Decay shadow from back in the day. That was always like my standard go-to size that I use to compare. And I think these are beautiful. They're worth it. You don't need a ton of these to make your eye look work. I'm not going to sit here and say that like you have to have this palette, because again, it's not like so intrinsic to an eye look. But if you are a collector and you're into this, or you even look at this and you see like the artistic side, the cannabis side, what they see when they look at this and that, and all of those little facets, I do think this is a beautiful palette, especially again if you're inspired by that cannabis style type situation. I think this is a beautiful option. So for me, I really like this palette. I will definitely reach for it again, especially for these 3 right here. They're so unique and so beautiful, and the texture of these I think is great. I've heard amazing things about Melt Cosmetics, and I have never actually gotten to play with anything of theirs, so this I think was a great option. Again, the Gemini palette was released very similar, so I can't say, you know, if you necessarily need one, if you have the other, I can't speak to that. I'm sorry for that, but I can tell you that this is absolutely beautiful. The liquid lipsticks are great. Again, I will keep you updated on those. But you guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and for being here and hanging out with me, and I don't know, just really diving into this and being open-minded, even if cannabis and weed and all that isn't your thing. Just thank you for being here, hanging out, the eye look. Leave me all of your thoughts down below on that, the collection, what you think, what you're drawn towards. And I also want to know from you guys, do you find beauty in things like cannabis or anything like that? Because some people view it as like, it's a flower, it's a beautiful thing. Some people view it and they look at it and they go, well, it's beautiful because it saves lives or it helps people's lives. And then other people look at it and they're like, it's a drug, I have no interest, you know, whatever. So leave me your thoughts down below. Always be respectful of other people, because that's what we do here. But I do want to hear your guys' thoughts on that side of it as well as the collection. So leave all of that down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, because I put up new videos Monday through Friday. They go up bright and early my time, which is between 6 and 7 a.m. Northern Michigan time. So like California, you're looking at somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m. So if you got to get up and go to work, girl, I'm your person to get up with. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Oh, and you can also check me out on Instagram and Twitter. The links are down in the description. You guys, that is it. I'm done plugging myself. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to have a great day, night, weekend, whatever it is when you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh girl, am I excited. So today we are looking... That was so difficult. Why was it so hard? Oh shit, don't drop that. Fuck, my throat. Hello everybody, welcome. So aside from that down there, there's really nothing out. No. Okay, you guys, so I am back. I have got my... So aside from that, there really isn't any other information that's super, you know... For those of you that maybe are not familiar with... So other than that, down in the description box, I can't not laugh. I'm like, what do you think of me? Do you think I'm cute? Oh my god. And I can't not laugh at myself. How are you supposed to take yourself seriously when you have to be like that? Like, how are you how?